Communications 319 is a class that is focused on learning about the empowerment in the workplace and learning how to work with other workers. It expresses that there are several key components to exceed while in the workplace with other workers. One of the main lessons that I also think is the most important is being able to display and provide leadership qualities. Leadership can be defined as leading a person or group of people in an organization. Having leadership in an organization is key material. Without a leader to make sure everyone is doing what they are supposed to do, a company could fall through and not be able to survive. For my choice of article to summarize, I chose the New York Times article, "Leadership Means Learning to Look Behind the Mask," wrote by Barbara Mistick. This article explains to a public audience or an audience who is looking for examples of showing leadership in the workplace that leadership makes a company thrive. Three main points that this article displays is that you must be a leader at all times, you must be sure of yourself while not questioning your decisions, and being confident in what you do. This article takes place in the workplace of a library, the Andrew Carnegie's Public Library, located in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to be exact. Barbara was hired to be the director and president of the library without having any experience of ever being involved with a library. Being in this position, she told herself that she would have to focus all of her time and attention on the skills she had already developed. Barbara knew that holding the highest position available within her workplace would come with many different obstacles. Her first obstacle that she faced was the feedback and reassurance from employees. She found it difficult to ask her fellow employees for suggestions because they didn't want to give them to her in fear that they would give her the wrong answer or they would upset her. When in any company, not just a library, when becoming the leader, you take on the task of leading everyone else. It is like a captain on the ship. Without the captain, no one would know what to do since he is calling the commands. He is commanding the ships and telling the members what to do. While reading this particular article, a certain line stuck out to me, and it was aimed towards being a leader. The line was that customers are always right, cash is king, and never drink with the men at night if you are going to leave them in the morning. When Barbara came for her first day of work, she was overwhelmed with much more stress than what she thought she would have. Being the new leader, her patience and skill would have to come into play. When she arrived, it had been brought to her attention that the funding for public libraries had been cut and the service hours had been reduced by a few hours. Others were afraid of the possibility of losing their jobs since libraries were falling from funding. Since funding was key material into having libraries survive, without the funding for the libraries to be open, the funding would not be able to make play for the employees. Since Barbara was the only one there who never had the experience of being a librarian, she was in a very difficult, confusing, and stressed spot and situation. She knew everyone would be looking upon her to lead the way. Throughout the middle of the article, Barbara begins to tell about how her job experience was after she had somewhat settled in. She derived a system to get feedback from everyone in the library since she felt that she was at the stage of being comfortable enough to ask the employees for their help. With this process, she wanted to transform the library to having a better system. Being a leader, she took note that her 360-degree management assessment tool worked great by finding out what specific skills people had by giving surveys. She then wanted to make personal changes by having one-on-one conversations with her workers. Barbara really took insight on the opinions that people had on her library that she was running. The opinions of the people that would come in just to read really mattered. At the end of the article, Barbara states that she told her staff that she was leaving for 6 years after being at the Andrew Carnegie Library. Instead of celebrating the time she had there and the changes she had made to help improve the library, she asked her whole staff what she could have done to make her time there better. The only thing that her staff wished she would have done really differently was to let them get to know her in a more personal level, get to know her on a first-name basis. With that feedback, she is now working at her newest job at Wilson College, being their president and attempting to be the best leader she can be there. At the end of Barbara's article, she states that she wishes she would have never been afraid to ask for genuine feedback. With the feedback that she received, she took it to heart and used it to improve her leadership within the workplace and began friendships with her fellow workers. She also states to the audience to not be afraid to ask for the feedback because it might not be what you want to hear, but when you do hear it, you can take it and prosper from it. This article related to Communications 319 by displaying that what it takes to be a leader and showing those characteristics that are needed within the course through the article. Thank you.